have to do 5 rounds to get on like one round.
Ladies and
gentlemen, very brief introduction to half-life exercises, basically calculating what's left over half-lives. Like I said last time, there are pretty exotic math if you were looking at like partial half-lives, like if you have 2.5 half-lives, how much left over. We're not going to do that. Everything we're going to do is whole numbers of half-lives, just to make the math easy. So if you don't like exponents, then you're going to be in great shape. So the half-life, like I mentioned before, is the time for half of something to become something else. Half of something to decay. For instance, bismuth-210 has a half-life of 5 days. If you have a 100-gram sample, how much do you have after 5 days? 50 grams. Okay? If the half-life is 5 days, and you have a 100-gram sample, after 5 days, you got 50 grams. Or, after 5 days, you got 50%. Or, after one half-life, you got 50%. Make sense? So I made a little table over here. I'll work it out a little bit in a little bit. So again, that's the half-life. After 5 days, you got half of it, so 100 grams. After 2 half-lives, how much do you have? 25% or 25 grams. So after 5 days, you got 50%. After 10 days, you got 25%. After 15 days, you have 12.5% or 12.5 grams. And after 20 days,
6 points.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we're going to leave everything in whole half-lives. So it becomes very, very easy. In fact, one of the things that you can do if you just get flummoxed with numbers is you can say half-life. You can make a, here, for all you geeks out here, we'll make half-life the lambda symbol. So half-lives, and then you can say percentage. So after one half-life, you got 50%. After 2 half-lives, you got 25%. After 3 half-lives, you got 12.5%. After 4 half-lives, you got 6.25%. After 5 half-lives, you got 3.125%. And it goes. Okay? So again, as long as you're using the whole numbers, you can do this. Make sense? Okay. So this is what a half-life decay curve is going to look like. In other words, it's going to drop by half as much every time. This is actually, when you see a graph, it looks like this. Oh, it's a decay curve. 1 half-life, 50%. 2, 25%. 3, and so on, and so on. And it would keep going. Make sense? Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you're with me so far and you're ready to move on. Okay. Any questions? Then let's do some practice. The half-life of cobalt-60 is 5 years. What a coincidence. If you have 10 grams of cobalt-60, how much do you have after 15 years? So work it out, put a little scribble on your paper, and then when you've got the answer, lean over to your neighbor and say, I think it's this, and see if you agree with your neighbor. Okay, if you got a number larger, oh, do you need more time? Okay, one more second, okay. All right, if you got a number larger than 1, raise your hand. Oh no. Okay, that's better. Okay, so you're getting it. Larger than 1.00.
Oh.
Okay, good, good. But are we rounding? Okay, so yeah, larger than 1. If you got a number larger than 2, raise your hand. Okay, well, most of you seem to have got it. After In 15 years, how many half-lives went by? 3. In the first half-life, there was how much left over? 5. In the second half-life, there was how much left over? 2.5. After the third half-life, how much was left over?
1.25.
1.25. Cool. Oh, give me a thumbs up if you understand now. Okay. Americium-242 has a half-life of 6 hours. If you start with 24 grams, and you now have only 3 grams, how much time has passed?
Oh yeah.
All right. So 24 grams. In 1 half-life, you got 12 grams. In 2 half-lives, you got 6 grams. In 3 half-lives, you got 3 grams. So 3 half-lives went by. 18 hours? Cool. All right. Thumbs up if you got it. Cool. All right. ID-131 is a half-life of 8 days. If you have 8 grams of ID-131 and 16 days pass, how much do you have left? Ah. I hit my shoe. Okay, so 16 days was how many half-lives? 2. So after 1 half-life, you had 4 grams. After 2 half-lives, you got 2 grams. And the last one, Tin-126 is a half-life of 100,000 years. How many years does it take to reduce 100 grams of Tin-126 to 12.5 grams?
Let's see, it's like 3.
3 years.
300,000 years. I'm sorry, you did it.
I'm saying we, there's one of those
You didn't even ask him. I didn't even ask you.
All right, if your answer was 200,000 years, raise your hand. If your answer was 200,000 years, raise your hand. If your answer was 300,000 years, raise your hand. Good, you guys got this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Again, as long as you're using whole half-lives, the math for half-life is really, really easy. Things get a little tricky when you have partial half-lives because it is an exponential curve, but we're not going to do that because we're lazy.